is Bill Mosley, and make sure you check out withoutyourhead.com.
You don't have a producer anymore? You're doing this yourself?
I've never had a producer. We should, though.
I thought Duckman, for some reason, was your... Or was he just a jerky guy that hung around with?
Yeah, I used to have people that would just hang around and get me coffee and stuff like that. But no, he didn't produce anything.
Coffee, foot massages, blowjobs.
Yeah, I don't know about that with Duckman, but I did share a room with him once.
Sorry, Trista.
It's okay.
I remember waking up and when I shared a room with Duckman in Chicago, and he was literally just standing there in the room. It was no lights were on, and he was just standing, like looking at me in the bed. It was very bizarre. It's true.
That's
story.
really fucking creepy.
It is. And then he was also the cameraman that weekend, so he took a bunch of photos, and then he sent me all of them, like the raw ones, and I'm looking through them, and there was pictures of me just sleeping in the bed.
What?
Yeah, it's really weird. But yeah, hey, Duckman.
Yeah.
So we are live here, the station of decapitation without your head. I'm Nasty Neal.
I'm Treacherous Trista.
Mm-hmm. Troy cannot be here, but we are joined by the returning John Dugan. It's very cool to have you here.
Hey, John Dugan here.
Hello.
Hey.
Yeah, not Jim Duggan.
No, although I've met him.
Did you really? I almost wore a Jim Duggan shirt tonight just to be funny.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
oh God, I should have worn my without your head shirt.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
I was going to wear my John Dugan shirt, but it's much too big for me now, unfortunately. Well, not unfortunately, but unfortunately, I don't have one that fits.
I don't know. It's not unfortunate at all, man.
Right. I need a new one, is what I'm saying. Maybe just a tattoo, then it wouldn't matter.
Nah, yeah.
I wasn't planning on it, actually, but it's good to see John. We used to see each other all the time.
Yeah, but things have changed, haven't they?
Mm-hmm. Well, we were lucky to see each other in December or in October at in Boston or Worcester.
In Worcester.
Mm-hmm. That was the first time in a few years.
That was a really, really good time, and it's the first time I'd ever been into a city in Massachusetts that wasn't Boston or in immediate Boston, Cambridge, Medford, that sort of thing.
Right.
Or over in Rhode Island somewhere, But I had never. I had a buddy, a really rough character, an ex-friend, Billy Bordeaux, one of those who was from Pawtucket,
mm-hmm.
And people, and this was in Louisville, and people would always think, he was from Boston. He'd get so pissed off. I'm from Boston. I'm from fucking Pawtucket, Rhode Island.
Uh-huh.
He used to like to go, dude, look at this nose. There's no cartilage in it. Been busted 15 times. I lost my driver's license for life. So I swiped 15 police cars in fucking Pawtucket.
But that's a thing, though. Around Boston, they call every city near Boston, even like hours away from Boston, it's just Boston.
Yeah.
Because I've seen people even say Rocket Shock is in the Boston area, and I'm like, it's like an hour and a half away from Boston. It's like saying I'm in Boston.
Well, nobody, for one thing, rural Massachusetts is like probably by people who live in Massachusetts, it's kind of a closely guarded secret, The Berkshires, people from the fucking Midwest don't go to the Berkshires,
Uh-huh.
People from the West don't go to the Berkshires, It's all just kind of New England is sort of enclosed, a little enclosed area of itself,
Yeah. When were you in New England before that? Before Rocket Shock?
72.
Okay. So it was a little while. Yeah. Things had changed a little bit, I assume.
I'll tell you what, when we were heading there, we had to, we caught a ride that was called something called the Ride Board, a local radio station ran. This is real hippy dippy shit, man. And my girlfriend lived in, she was kind of prep school girl from Barrington, Rhode Island. And she wanted to take me to meet her parents, you know. It's God. Yeah, just trashy Irish guy she brings home, you know. And so we caught a ride with a woman, a hippie chick, on the radio station ride board as far as Framingham, I think. And then we took a bus from Framingham to Boston, and then we stayed with her friend. She had friends that went to Tufts, and we stayed for a few days in Medford and hit all the bars in fucking Cambridge and in Boston and shit like that. Had a really good time. Mm-hmm. Really neat town. But I do remember, this will help you figure out the year. That month, Patty Hearst was on the run.
Oh, wow.
From the FBI with the Harris family, with the Harris couple.
Yeah.
And it was two women and a dark-haired guy with a dark curly-haired guy with a mustache traveling together. We got pulled over 3 fucking times between Northern Ohio and Pennsylvania. You know, inspect the car. Can you back it up? Mm-hmm. Okay. Turn signal. Okay, you kids can move along. Second time we thought, what the fuck's going on? It dawned on somebody that we look like Patty Hearst and the Harris. And they were supposedly headed for Pennsylvania. Some shit. You know?
Yeah.
But that was that summer. I had a good time then.
Mm-hmm. How did you, I know we probably went over some of this before, but maybe not. How did you end up in Texas for Texas Chainsaw Massacre?
A plane.
Oh, okay. Well, that works out.
No. My brother-in-law wrote it. Kim Henkel was married to my sister.
Oh, I actually didn't know that.
And my sister went to school San Antonio, and then she transferred to University of Texas in Austin. And I spent quite a bit of time in San Antonio and Austin, you know, with my sister when I was in high school. And then she got married to Kim Henkel, and I had met him maybe once before the wedding and once after the wedding. Once at the wedding and once after or something. So I knew him, you know, we got high together and shit like that, you know. Mm-hmm. And I knew he was a writer, and I knew that he had been in a student film that he and his friend had written and done, you know, which is called Eggshells, which if I have never seen it, I would love to. But my sister had a poster of it, which I'd like to have now, signed by Kim and Toby. But I was doing I signed up getting out of high school and going to theater school. And I was going to theater school at the Art Institute of Chicago at the Goodman Theater. And I was doing a children's play for the summer. One of my first, I think it was my second paying acting gig. I had done 2 days on an industrial film before that. And that pay stub, I had my wallet till it disintegrated, that first paycheck stub for acting. Mm-hmm. It went from wallet to wallet to wallet until just like fucking, like the scene in The Time Machine where he pulls a book out and just crumbles in his hand. But where was I? Oh, so he calls up. The play was called The Taradiddle Tales. And I wore multicolored tights and a leotard and little jazz shoes, and did folk dances and sang folk songs from around the world in all the countries around the world. And we entertained inner city kids, that the city brought in twice a day, city of Chicago, and we did 2 shows a day, 5 days a week, 6 days a week. We had Mondays off, Mondays we were dark. So we did 2 shows a day, 6 days a week for $175 a piece, a week. Which if we broke it down into shows, it was like fucking $12.50 a show or some shit. Yeah. But honestly, I had the rent in my apartment with my 2 roomies. Well, actually, we had there were 4 of us at the time in that particular apartment. My rent was $44 a month, fucking utilities included, utilities and phone.
Mm-hmm.
It's a huge apartment. We'd argue whose turn it was to go to the kitchen and grab beer during the commercials, because the kitchen was a half a block away. I ran last time, you lazy son of a bitch. That sort of shit. And so anyway, I'm sorry, I'm digress. I do that all the time.
It's totally fine.
Don't I? So anyway, Kim
someone
Henkel
says
called.
yes or no. Yeah.
Yeah. So Kim Henkel called me and, hey, John, man, this is Kim. Hey, Kim, what's up? You crazy, man? I said, sure. What do you need? And he told me about this thing. And the next day I went to the producer, who was this old Russian woman, Bella Itkin, from a sort of famous theater family. Her father was a great theater scholar. Her mother was probably an actress, I think. And they were Russian refugees, from the the socialist revolution, I think. And I told her, I gave her my notice, and she asked me, and she was upset, and then she asked what the role was. I told her, and she said, Roddy McDowell would never. I can't do a Russian accent. I keep going into German. But she said, Roddy McDowell would never have done Planet of the Apes in all that makeup had he not been an established actor first. And so I was compared to Roddy McDowell right off the bat.
Uh-huh. That's good company.
And, and then after the film was released, Roger Ebert compared me to, inadvertently, compared me to Dustin Hoffman, which is so fucking neat.
Yeah, definitely. I know old pictures of
he was
a lot like Dustin Hoffman.
No, but he was talking about the grandpa makeup.
Uh-huh.
And old Sam or whatever his name was in Little Big Man.
Mm-hmm.
So he had said John Dugan is the grandpa who's reminiscent of Dustin Hoffman, Old Big Man.
Mm-hmm.
A couple of years later, I bumped into him in O'Rourke's. This is back when he used to still drink, which was down the street from my apartment at the time, in Old Town on North Avenue in Chicago. It's no longer there. It's moved to New Digs and all that shit. But it was a very Irish pub, just reeked of fucking beer and cigarettes, and and Ebert held court in there. Sometimes he'd take his film class. He'd just take his film class in there for drinks and run the class in there. He loved his booze, man. So I ran to him in there and said, Roger Ebert. I said, yeah. I said, I'm John Dugan. He goes, that name sounds familiar. I said, I just wanted to thank you for comparing me to Dustin Hoffman. And he was, wow, John, I didn't realize I'd done that. And I told him who I am. He went, oh my God. So over the years in Chicago, I'd run into him periodically. I don't want to say constantly, but 2 or 3 times a year I'd bump into him. He'd come into some joint I was working for dinner, some restaurant or something. And he always remembered my name and he always said hi.
That's cool.
Yeah.
And
had a chat with me,
Mm-hmm. Did you see his documentary? It's really well made. It's very powerful.
The documentary on Roger Ebert?
Yeah. I think it's called My Life
or
something like that. Yeah, I watched it.
No, I have not.
Last time I was in the hospital and I was in there for a while and I was just watching everything I watch on Netflix and that was one of the things I watched.
I was in the hospital during the Shark Week, man. That's all I remember. I was so drugged up.
Yeah, I was pretty drugged up this last time too. So. On ketamine, which I could see why people like. I have to say, yeah, ketamine.
Woo! It's like Special K, right?
Yeah. It was. I was hallucinating.
I was on morphine and some other shit. Morphine was enough, though. Man, I love that shit. Whew. Yeah, you can see how junkies become junkies.
Yeah,
and I was on. I had an alarm that went off every 10 minutes. I could push a button and get another dose.
Yeah, it's and
I never waited. As soon as that thing went off, bang.
Yeah, it was. Annabelle was in the room with me when I was on the morphine drip, and it was the same way. You could hit it, and so when I would sleep, she would keep track and hit it, or else I'd wake up in like terrible pain. And one of the nurses came in, and she told the nurse that she was hitting it, and she's like, "I'll pretend I didn't hear that because that's like incredibly illegal. We can't. You're not supposed to do that. Someone else isn't supposed to be giving you your morphine shot." But.
Yeah.
How are you doing? How are you doing?
Pretty well. I've had one of those old man, couple years. I got cancer. It'll be 2 years. I was diagnosed 2 years ago in last month, I guess in May or April or something. And then ended up having surgery in the last week in July in 2018. And then there were complications. I ended up having 2 emergency surgeries after that because of bleeds and fucking, I almost bled to death internally and all that shit. So I was in the hospital for not much less than you were, Neal, but I was only supposed to be in for 4 days. I was in for 16.
Oh, wow.
They sent me home once and I had to turn right around and go back. And they tried to send me home again. I was getting ready to leave. And my wife was arguing with him. She goes, he doesn't look well. I don't think he's ready to come home,
Mm-hmm.
And they were bringing, me my clothes and everything. I was getting ready to get dressed. And the doctor and his team, because Vanderbilt is a teaching hospital. So the doctor always had a group of, residents around him and shit, students. I was sitting up on the edge of the bed. And I don't remember much about it, but Stacy mentioned Stacy's friend who was there that she worked with, mentioned there was blood on my lips, and I took a tissue, and I stuck my tongue out and went like that and was just all fucking bright red arterial blood,
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, and they wheeled me away so damn fast. They put me up on, and they had me in the operating theater in 15 minutes with, one bag of blood gone already, and they were hooking me up to the second one. And I remember not realizing how bad the situation was. And it was like, well, because they had me so stoned. It's like, going for a ride, you know? And, but I do recall my surgeon's wife was the anesthesia nurse on it. And when they banged me up with the bye-bye drugs, she was talking to me and she held my hand, and I thought, are they not telling me something? You know, she was damn near in tears and she was holding my hand. Mm-hmm. And before I drifted off. And then I found out months later when I had follow-up appointments that, yeah, I was really, really in bad shape. You know? But, you know, you've been through it. So, you know, we both were on death's door there for a while.
Even with the bleeding was similar when I came home and I had the wound vac, and it was filled with bright red blood. And I had a visiting nurse, and when she saw that, she's like, that's not good. And when they took it off, because she said it was artisanal blood, and it was just spraying out.
Oh, God. Yeah.
Called the ambulance.
Yeah.
And it's the same.
Anyways.
I knew it was bad. But everyone, it was like a movie. The people in the ambulance, the EMTs were, you know, just telling you, stay with me. And, you know, it wasn't good. But I'm good now. So.
Yeah, me too. I don't know. And then I had a heart attack in March.
Oh, I didn't know that.
The beginning of the pandemic. So it was really, really upsetting for Stacy. Well, it was upsetting. You know.
Of course. But
Stacy took me to. I was like, blah, blah, blah. Because it wasn't a classic thing, I had got myself out of breath. You know, exerted myself, and I couldn't get my breath back, and I had that burning sensation, like you were in gym class and they made you run 100 miles an hour. I mean, 100, not 100 miles, 100 yards.
Yeah,
you know, made you sprint or do wind sprints or something, and you got that burning sensation while you're trying to get your breath. That's what it felt like. But then it started going out into my arms. So Stacy made me call the doctor. She goes, well, why don't you come in? Mm-hmm. I said, no, really, I'm fine. It went away. She goes, no, I want you to come in. So I went in, and she had an EKG. And then she sent me for blood work, and I headed home. It took me about an hour or so to get home. I'd been home for about a half an hour. She calls up. She goes, I got your blood work back. I said, okay. You know, I'm sitting in this chair tossing the toy around for my dog, you know. And I said, okay. And she goes, well, this such and such an enzyme is really high. It's supposed to be this, and it's this. I was like, whoa. You want me to come in, you know, because I had a stress test scheduled for the next week, like on Thursday or something. I said, you want me to come in like tomorrow for that stress test? She goes, no. Protocol says you need to go to the emergency room. I was like, oh, really? She goes, yeah. I said, you want me to drive back into Vanderbilt and go to the emergency room there? She goes, no, John, you don't understand. You need to get to the closest emergency room right now. I was like, whoa. All right. You know, and that was like everybody running around. But the thing that was so upsetting was that Stacy had to pretty much drop me at the door, and they wheeled me away. She didn't know if she'd ever see me alive again because of the pandemic. Mm-hmm. They wouldn't let her in. Mm-hmm. But and I went to an just an emergency clinic, and then it's an emergency room, but you can get some things done there. But the hospital is connected to is, 5 miles down the road or something. And so they did let her come in before they put me in an ambulance and moved me to the hospital. And the next morning, bright and early, they ran, did an angioplasty and put a stent in my, major coronary artery. It was like, doctor said it's what they call a widowmaker. I'm like, oh, you were very lucky. Yeah. But, it didn't hurt all that bad or anything. I wouldn't have thought much of it because the pain had subsided.
Right.
So all that, grab your left arm and clutch your chest and fall over
Mhm.
that they show in the movies. That's not what it was like for me.
Mhm. Yeah, I remember I was living with my uncle at the time when he had his heart attack, and he didn't go for days. He just thought his back hurt a little bit, and it was
Yeah. Yeah, everybody has different symptoms, Some are so mild, I'm sure a lot of people die because they think nothing's happening.
Mhm.
Enough of our health problems.
Right. Let's talk about something nice here.
How about Trista's health problems? Trista, how are you? Are you healthy?
Oh, as far as I know, I'm healthy. Thank you for asking. I'm glad that you're okay and that I got to meet you.
Huh? Nope.
Yeah.
I'm no big deal.
Nah, he's the biggest deal. Yeah. She stopped drinking coffee, so she's very healthy now.
Boy, how'd you do that?
I feel bad drinking the coffee on camera here.
Yeah, I've just been drinking a lot of tea, but we'll see how long it lasts. I was just drinking too much coffee.
Well, I quit for several years, twice, because I was getting heartburn. I was drinking so much of it. So now I kind of have it under control, I think.
Uh-huh. I drink mine black now.
Me too.
Yeah.
Strong and black.
Yeah, that's how I like the dark roast. And it's weird because my grandmother used to always say if I'd get her, coffee with stuff in it or flavored coffee, she'd always say it doesn't taste like coffee, and I never understood what that meant. But now that I drink it black, I totally understand what it means. Because if you have it with
I've never put anything in my coffee. I've never really been big on sweets. As I've gotten older, I have a bit of a more of a sweet tooth, and also since I don't drink nearly as much as I used to. I was getting so much sugar, through alcohol consumption.
Mm-hmm.
So, I kind of am into dark chocolate and black coffee, and I've always, enjoyed. I always, like bitter things and salty things and that sort of thing,
Yeah, I like olives now, which I was never a big fan of olives, but since I changed my diet,
I
like
love
olives
olives
and pickles.
Oh God, you should go to fucking Greece, man, and go to a Greek deli or something. Well, wait a minute, you live in Martha's Vineyard?
Cape Cod, but
okay. There's got to be a Portuguese deli, a Mediterranean deli around there.
My favorite restaurant I go to a lot, it's Captain Scott's. It's a seafood restaurant, but the owner's Greek, and he does a lot of Greek dishes. And yeah, I eat a lot of that. I eat a lot of Mediterranean food in general at home.
It's just amazing the variety of olives.
Yes.
In a open air Greek market at the produce guy, or maybe he's just the olive guy. I don't know. But. Fuck. And of course, you don't read Greek, so you don't know what the fuck they are.
Right. Uh-huh.
But
maybe I do. You don't know that. Maybe I'm fluent in Greek.
Oh yeah, I'm sorry, I didn't think. Can you speak Greek?
No.
Okay.
You're correct. Yeah.
My sister. I am just jumping from subject to subject. But my late sister Paula, we lived in LA at the same time. And she had this boyfriend, Gilles, who was French-Moroccan, who was a waiter in a very expensive restaurant, made a lot of money, and had a really nice apartment in West Hollywood. And his best friend was this really strange dude who imported European shoes, basically Italian shoes, into upscale boutiques in the United States, Well, she invited me to this dinner party, and she invites me this. She introduced me to this guy, who's Gilles' best friend, and she's like, so and so. It's my brother John. He goes, really, really nice to meet you. Who cares? Who cares? What the fuck is that? My sister didn't say anything. And he's real interested. So what do you do? I said, well, right now I tend bar wait tables. Sometimes I cook, and I look for acting work. And he's like, really? Who cares? Nigger, fuck, shit. What the hell is that? And it's like, well, nice meeting you, And I find my sister. I said, why the hell didn't you warn me about this guy? She goes, what? I said, that thing. He has Tourette's. And you could have warned me while I was. She goes, oh, you'd have to know my sister. I didn't even think about it. And the guy was fluent in like 3 languages, Mm-hmm. And she goes, John, the funny thing is when he and Gilles speak in French, he doesn't do that. I said, Paul, do you speak French? She goes, no. And I said, how the fuck do you know he's not doing that? Those all like swear words and terrible racial slurs, and who cares? Really, who cares? So after dinner, he goes, I'm buying dessert. I'm going to, who cares? Fuck, shit. Up to back Baskin Robbins at the corner of Sunset and Vine. And I'm sorry, I'm not. You don't use that word.
Oh, I understand. Yeah.
And get a who cares? Ice cream cake. I was like, wow, that's great. And he points at me, goes, and you're going to take me up there because I've had a little bit of wine. I was like, oh fuck, I go out in public with this guy. So we hopped into my little Honda Civic and we head out, shoot up Vine up to Sunset to Baskin Robbins, and we go in there, and both the women behind the counter were black women. I thought, oh God, oh no. And it's our turn. She goes, can I help you? And he goes, yeah, I'd like one of these shit nigger ice cream cakes here. And I turned around, walked out, and waited in the car for him. I thought, I'm not going to get that shit beat out of me
right
by an angry black woman coming over the goddamn counter. That's that story. Anyway. That's my Tourette story.
Yeah. Well, that's very interesting. Do you think Jim Henkel gets enough credit for writing a Texas Chainsaw Massacre?
No. So much of it is him.
Mm-hmm.
The script, the dialogue is pretty much 90% Kim Henkel. The story, it was collaboration, But he's the writer of the two of them. Toby wasn't really a writer. Mm-hmm. He had ideas. You have a conceptualizer, and then you have a fucking writer, who can take your concept and turn it into, words and, and a script, or whatever. And that's what they were. They were a collaboration. And no, I definitely don't think, and I correct people all the time on it, All the really weird, funny shit in there is Kim Henkel. Just, you'd have to know Kim, and I know Kim quite well, still do. I spent, in 2019, spent Memorial Day at his, he gave Stacy and I his beach house at Port Aransas on the fucking Gulf of Mexico for 5 days. And so I'm still quite close with him. Mm-hmm. And but if you knew him and his fucking sense of humor, like he was the first writer ever, I think, probably, to write an unsympathetic character who sits in a fucking wheelchair. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
It's a stroke of genius to make Franklin just a whiny, fucking obnoxious asshole. People practically cheer when he's killed, you know?
Mm-hmm. And really, that would be equality, because not just because you're in a wheelchair means you're a great person.
You know, and Paul Partain did it so well. I can't imagine anybody but Paul playing that role. I really can't.
Mm-hmm. You said about funny stuff, because I think the first movie has a lot of comedy in it that a lot of people overlook and think, obviously the second one is like overt comedy, but there's a lot of dark comedy in the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
I'm sorry, somebody just messaged me saying I was 20 minutes there when I was in Port Aransas. Oh, Eric.
Don't they know you're busy?
Shit. Eric Rodriguez, you know him. He's pissed off. I didn't call him.
Oh, he's here in the chat. He said hello.
I know. I'm sorry, Eric. I'm sorry.
Uh-huh.
I'm so sorry. Next time, pal. Oh, fuck. Now I feel terrible. By the way, Eric, no such thing as a beer. But yeah, most of the humor was both of them, had sick sense of humor.
Yeah, it's also fun watching the movie again after I knew you, because you can see actually a lot of yourself in Grandpa, like when you're kind of moving around.
Oh, really? Well, thank you. That's cool. But good deal of humor. Toby may have inspired some of it, but Kim wrote the scene and and the dialogue and that sort of thing. Mm-hmm. And Kim was responsible for most of the dialogue and all the weird fucking slurs he just made up, like bitch hog and all that stuff. And all the squabbling, the arguing between Jim Sedow and Ed Neal in the dinner party scene and all that stuff. That was all, all that dialogue was written, on the spot, essentially, by Kim Henkel, who was sitting over there in the corner, with a legal pad and a pencil, tearing off sheets between setups, trying to try this. But he's credited with co-writing, co-directing, co-producing. So
yeah, he's got the credit. I just don't think a lot of people talk about him as much, as Toby.
No, Toby is the big hero to the fans. He's.
Mm-hmm. I think some of them might, because does Kim ever do like appearances? Because I don't really.
No, rarely. He's done one. I think he did one. With they managed to get him and Toby at. So then, of course, nobody notified me about it. But and Toby, I haven't seen Toby since the fucking 70s. Since he fucking stood me up on an appointment to talk about getting a role in Salem's Lot, the miniseries. Mm-hmm. I had to track him down on the lot, lower my production. And he waited 45 minutes for me in his office. I had an appointment with him, And his assistant was so apologetic. I'm so sorry, Sean. I don't know where he is. He should have been back, half an hour ago. Because she kept telling me every 5 minutes, he should be here any minute. Mm-hmm. So I said, oh, fuck, I'm not going to sit around very long. So I was walking back to my car, and there he was talking to somebody. Like right over there. So I hollered, hey, Toby. And he turned around and I walked toward him. He goes, hey, John. Oh, I said, we had an appointment? He goes, oh, hey, yeah, about that. He goes, I thought about this, and the only thing there's nothing for you in this film, which is bullshit, because I was 20-something, I looked about fucking 17,
Mm-hmm.
And I got from my agent, I already had to break down the script. I knew all the characters and everything. There must have been 3 characters that would have been perfect for him, because there's really nothing really for you in this. And then, he said, I could give you a $50 a day extra job, but you wouldn't want to do that, would you? I said, no, I wouldn't, Toby. Thanks a lot. And I walked away. That was the last time I saw him. And that was 1970. Let's see, whenever Salem Salt went into production, 78 maybe, or 79. Well, that was it on that. And then the year before he died,
What about the year before he died? You saw him again, or? Tim
calls. Tim only calls when I'm having dinner, taking a shower, having sex, or on an important phone call. He's got a sixth sense. So when I got the call to do rock paper scissors, have you seen it, by the way?
I have not. I didn't even know it was that the Victor Miller movie.
Yeah.
No, I haven't seen it. I feel bad.
I'd kick ass.
I'm sure you do. I will definitely check this out. I know we're going to have Victor Miller on for the movie.
It's the best role I've had in a long time, man. Mm-hmm. Thank you, Victor Miller and Carrie Fleming, for giving me that role. But I got the role. I was supposed to play. Yeah, just a one day, like a cameo role. Mm-hmm. And as I was getting ready to send in the paperwork, the casting director got in touch with me and said, John, don't send that stuff back. Hold on, I'll get back to you. I thought, I got shit canned before I even started on a one-day cameo role. This is great. She calls back 15 minutes later. She goes, they want you to play Uncle Charles. And I was like, Uncle Charles? And Stacy was over there. She goes, Uncle Charles? The Uncle Charles? I said, yeah. She goes, the pervert? I said, yeah. And I said, okay. And she sent me the paperwork.
Yeah.
And then 10 minutes later, I get a phone call, unknown number, but it was a California number. So I answered it. Dugan, Tom Holland here. Tom Holland. How are you? I hear you're from Indiana. I got family in Indiana down by Richmond. He's talking. And Stacy's going, Tom Holland, the director, writer, actor, guy. I said, I guess so. And it turned out, he was directing this film, and I didn't know who the director was or anything. I thought, what the fuck? I thought maybe he was offering me a job, which apparently I already had. But so he told me he was very impressed with my work, but he was asking me on the phone, can you handle this? It's a very important role. Can you handle it? I said, yeah, Tom, I can handle it. Because this is a very important role. I don't know much about you. Can you handle it? So turns out he went to Toby. He and Toby were best friends. One were at Toby's house. They were talking, and he asked about me. And Toby said, so this is the last time Toby fucked me over right before he died. He said, well, because he said, can he act? Can he handle this role? And Toby went, I don't know. Only reason I hired him was because of his stature. So the last thing he does for me before he fucking dies is try to get me shit canned out of a really juicy acting job, Mm-hmm. So, and if you've noticed between, us, the original cast, there's no love lost there.
Yeah, I remember.
But he wouldn't even.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, Gunnar had told me at a convention once that Toby would, when people would invite Toby to a convention, he would specifically say he wouldn't do it if other cast members of Texas Chainsaw Massacre were there. Which Gunnar said would really hurt a lot of the cast members because it would they would do well if everyone was there together, obviously.
Oh, God, if Toby had been there?
Yeah.
Shit, man. Yeah, we wouldn't. I don't think we would have jumped him and beat the fuck out of him.
Right.
We probably would have been civil. But he was booked a couple times at shows that I was supposed to do, 2 or 3 times. And it was always like he'd cancel at the last minute because doctor's orders. And it was usually like he can't fly because of an ear infection.
Mm-hmm.
Just like the dog ate my homework, you know.
Yeah.
So.
Why do you think that is? Why is there like that disconnect with him and the cast members?
I don't know. He liked it. I think, his ego is so fucking huge that he felt like he'd done it all himself.
Mm-hmm.
That we hadn't worked our ass off for next to nothing for the summer. He didn't want to give us any credit at all. So, subsequently, he didn't hire any of us for, except for Jim Seadow, for the second one.
Mm-hmm.
I could have kicked ass's grandpa on the second.
Sure. Yeah. And why have a different person play Leatherface?
Yeah, no reason to have a different Leatherface because they wouldn't offer it. They offered him scale.
Mm-hmm.
Scale plus 10, which is the 10% goes to Asia. So it's essentially scale for recreating a role in a film that made them fucking God knows how much money. It was just fucking rude. I just wanted a job. I just wanted a chance to work, and it would have been a gentlemanly thing to do to put everybody in the first one. In the second one that actually had a budget and could pay you a decent day rate. I made $637 on the whole goddamn movie playing 2 roles. I was there for a fucking month working as a PA and, doing all sorts of shit. Or more than a month, probably. But I don't know. You look so serious. I'm okay.
I was just wondering about how you feel about Texas Chainsaw Massacre then. And how you feel about it changed over the years?
You mean the subsequent films?
Not the movie itself, just being part of Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Because I would think maybe before the conventions and stuff, you might have looked at it different than later on when you're benefiting from Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
How do I feel about it now compared to that?
Yeah.
God damn it, she does that to me. Anytime I'm doing one of these things, I'm sitting outside. She gets home from work, takes off all her clothes and stands in that fucking doorway dancing.
All right.
By the time I get in there, she'll be fully clothed. I'm like, don't touch me. God, she's a barrel full of laughs. So I love my wife so much.
She's always been very nice to me.
Huh?
I said she's always been very nice to me.
Oh, she's a very nice individual.
Mm-hmm. I think I was there when you guys met.
Huh?
I think I was there when you guys met in Kalamazoo.
No, we met in St. Louis, but the second time I met her was in Kalamazoo.
Yeah.
Or I talked to her quite a bit there. And then again in Nashville, and that was it. We met 3 times, and then we went out, and then it was less than a year later I moved in with her, I think.
Yeah, Kalamazoo was a big bust, but good things came out of it.
Yeah, what a shithole fucking not city, I'm not saying, but a shitty fucking con.
Uh-huh.
That guy was trying to get me to come up on a one-way ticket, and after he made some money, He'd buy me the return ticket. I went, no, you're not going to strand me in fucking Kalamazoo.
Uh-huh.
So he came up with some more money to get me a round trip. And then, you know, he had to run and find more money to pay for my hotel room. I thought, oh, this is going to be a joke.
Yeah, I remember the last day, some of the people were actually locked out of their hotel for a little while.
Oh, God.
Yeah. It was. It's funny now to look back, but I remember at the
Plus,
time
it was on.
it wasn't the best. Yeah.
I was so cold all goddamn weekend, too. You know, sitting on the ice.
Yeah, I remember because I was like 340 pounds.
You know.
The cold didn't bother me at the time, but I remember everyone else was freezing. Oh. And Annabelle's like, because we had drinks, and she's like, look at this.
Yeah,
and
you were like, oh,
this
is so comfortable.
Yeah, and like the coats that were sitting there, they were frozen. They were like, they turned to ice.
And there was like 3/4 plywood on top of the ice, but still. You know.
Yeah.
And then there was an old guy when you'd step out and smoke a cigarette. If you didn't close the door, he'd come out and yell at you, "You gotta melt the ice!" You know, slam the door. Back when I smoked.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
That's still, I'll tell you what, though, that VIP party, that picture of us dancing, that was a fucking good party.
It was a good party, yeah.
He spent most of his budget on that.
Yeah, you know? I remember when we were there, and you were like, you even told me, you're like, this guy's probably not going to pay everybody. So because he was paying for all the drinks, and you're like, get the top shelf stuff when you're getting the drinks. I was like, okay.
Yeah. Yeah, this guy, yeah. Drink fast and order top shelf. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, and then I have a video of when I was doing karaoke, and you make an appearance in the karaoke, which was very fun too. But I'm not supposed to.
Oh my God!
Right. Yeah.
What did I sing?
I was singing "Love Shack" with
That's my karaoke song.
Oh, really? Awesome. Mm-hmm. Well, we will have to do it sometime.
Oh, was I like your backup or something?
It was me, Annabelle, and I forget I'm sorry, I forget her name, but she does cosplay. You probably know the name, but I forget the name. But you and your now wife were just like in the front, and then you started to sing with us for some. I'm not sure why, but it was fun. Yeah.
Oh, was it the other one, Barbara Evans?
Yeah, that's her. Yeah.
Yeah, she and Bill were there that week.
Yeah. And Bob Elmore, I think he makes an appearance in the karaoke, but he doesn't sing. I think he just stands stoically and waves. But it was still.
Was that the one? Was that at where the riding, the bull riding, the mechanical bull was?
No, I don't know.
Or was that a different Michigan show?
The only bull riding I've been a part of was in Texas, but I don't think you were there. So this must have been another
okay. Convention. So it was another one. Okay. Uh-huh. Oh no, that was in Nebraska or South Dakota or something like that.
Okay. Yeah. Do you have a go-to karaoke song, John? Do you ever do karaoke?
No, I certainly try not to. I used to go to this karaoke at this old bar in southern Indiana, and there are several, a couple of female singers that I used to pick their songs and sing them because essentially they were in my vocal range, and I could switch some of the lyrics. You know, the lyrics weren't real one sex or the other, you know.
Uh-huh.
It was Sheryl Crow and Bonnie Raitt, you know. And the guy always go, really? I say, yeah, I'm going to sing, you know, this by Bonnie Raitt. You go, and people go nuts for it, you know, because they never just heard a guy sing it before. I remember doing that.
Yeah.
But boy, you know, alcohol and microphones don't mix, man.
I kind of think it's the only way because since since I stopped drinking, I don't enjoy the karaoke.
Don't do karaoke. No more karaoke. Yeah, it is the only way.
Because I remember in 2018 at Boston Underground Film Festival, I did Monster Mash, and I thought it was awesome. And everyone there thought it was great. They're like, yeah, it was great. And they put it up on their Instagram. I was like, hell yeah, it was awesome. Then last year I did the same festival, same song. And I thought, man, that sucked. But everyone else was like, oh, that was better than last year. It was amazing. And I realized I was the only one in the group that was no longer drinking. So I realized that that was the difference.
Oh.
But everyone else enjoyed it. So that's the main thing. But I didn't. Yeah.
Was it hard for you to stop?
Not so much. Not like when I was at home, but when I started to do conventions and festivals again, it was because like it was weird to be like in a social gathing.
Not be drinking.
Yeah, because it's and no one made me feel uncomfortable or anything like that. It was just kind of my own thing. Like I just felt weird being that. So the last time I did drink at Boston Underground Film Festival last year, but it was just at the after party, just because I felt like I needed to fit in, and so I quit drinking in November 2018, and then I had a couple drinks in February 2019, and nothing since then.
Oh, wow,
yeah, but yeah, just a couple of the conventions at first it was weird, but after that it's been fine.
Yeah.
And I find everyone, no one's like, hey, you should drink or whatever. Everyone's cool about it.
I after I got back on the road,
it was a big part. I mean, from the conventions, I would drink a lot.
It's a huge part of conventions,
Yeah.
Yeah. No, God, we sat up till fucking 3 a.m. more than once.
Sometimes till the light came up, and because I remember people would.
It would switch over to cognac.
Right.
Sitting there at 3 a.m. with a brandy snifter, like you're some sort of a British fucking lord or some shit. So.
Right.
These plebes here, blah, blah, blah. But but when I got back on the road after I'd recovered from all my cancer bullshit, I was trying not to drink. I didn't drink for 6 months, and hell, I didn't eat solid food for 6 months. I had a feeding tube in, So when I got back on the road, I started having a beer here and there. I really wasn't drinking all that much. I was trying to stay relatively sober when I was out of town, because I still had a problem with being really exhausted and being able to sleep. Oh, fuck. I could have slept 18 hours straight, for a few months there. So I wanted to be able to get up and get at it in the morning, and take, greet my fans and everything. And people, actually, I thought, people insist on buying me a drink or whatever, and people would bring me a bottle of beer or whatever, and I'd thank them, put it down. And then somebody wanted, put it down here, and I'd sip on it, And I'd always have, during the course of the day, 4 or 5, even six beers, but when it was time to have something to eat and then go drinking all night somewhere, I would have something to eat and a couple drinks with dinner and go back to my room. And people were very understanding. I want to join them, because of, that I've been ill. If I just told them, no, I'm not trying not to drink, they'd go, oh, fuck you, bullshit. I know you, Dugan, that sort of thing. Because I do have a reputation. I always have, of enjoying my alcohol. I still do, But, I don't know. Sorry, we got on that subject.
No, I mean, it was a big part of being the conventions, and people knew I drank a lot, and would some of those conventions, like I just would have nothing but booze like the whole weekend. It was like a liquid diet for the weekend. But.
Yeah, just forget to eat.
Yeah. You mentioned Duckman before we went live, and I remember when I did worry a little bit because Duckman was like, because if anyone knows this, nothing against Duckman, I like Duckman, but he has a lot of issues. And he goes, because he would calls me Jack. He's like, Jack, I think you got a problem there. You got to eat something. You're drinking so much. And I was thinking, man, if Duckman thinks I have a problem, I don't know. This might be
who was it? I'm sorry.
Duckman.
Duckman.
Chicago. Yeah.
yeah.
And I love Duckman, so it's nothing against him. But
I had a cook that worked for me at a sports bar in Chicago, Ernie, who would just bring me. He'd make me something to eat and just bring it to me. Here. So, Ernie, I'm not hungry. Dugan, you got to feed that alcohol. You got to feed the alcohol. So I'd eat something. Otherwise,
Yeah. It never affected like anything I was doing because I do a lot of those. I did all the panels, and we'd be up sometimes till 5 a.m. and people were like, "Are you going to be able to do the panels at like 11?" I'd be like, "Yeah, it'll be fine," and I'd always be fine for them. But so it never like negatively affected anything I was doing.
No, that panel we did in Indianapolis with that. I started fucking with that guy who said he was I was like, what do you do? I'm a skater. I'm a skateboarder.
Right.
Well,
yeah.
Like, that's our job? Well, yeah, and he was so fucking wasted. We all started fucking with him and everything.
Yeah. That was just some panel we set up in the hallway. We just set up a table.
Yeah, it was in the hallway right outside the convention room.
Yeah. It wasn't part of the convention. It was just something we were doing.
No, it was, and it also it was right by the entryway to that the newer wing of the hotel over there. So we were catching people as they went back to their rooms after getting trash. Funny.
Yeah.
You, me, Troy, and Duckman, wasn't it?
Yeah, I believe Duckman. No, Duckman was the one in Chicago.
And,
I think it was Will Bozarth.
And Will
Bozarth.
Whatever happened to him?
I saw him somewhere. He was in Charlotte for Mad Monster, I think. It was the last time I saw him.
Yeah, I've never done that. Never done that. I'd love to do that show.
I always put a good word for you. It hasn't helped, so I don't know what good that does, but I put in a good word for you.
Eb had an issue with me because of a rumor that was going around. I'll tell you in private sometime what it was and who I think was involved in spreading it. But.
Mm-hmm. No, but I always put a good word in for my friends at conventions. It doesn't always help. Sometimes it does.
Oh, I do too, man.
Tristan,
I always.
I'm sorry to take all the questions. Do you have something to add?
Oh, it's okay. I do have a question. If I'm not mistaken, is it true that a plastic surgeon actually did the makeup for Texas Chainsaw? And also, how was the process where the masks comfortable? I was just wondering if you could speak on the special effects and makeup a little bit.
So yes, it was. He was a plastic surgeon. Charles Barnes was a plastic surgeon in the north central Austin. He was on the other side of the creek. Have you ever been in Austin?
I have not.
No, I haven't either.
I've
been to Dallas.
So there's north of the campus area. It's a neat town, and it's been so long since I spent much time down by the university, but he lived north of there. And there's Barton Springs that goes past Lamar, and it's essentially a dry creek bed until it rains like hell up in the hills, and then it turns into a roaring... No, I don't think it is Barton. Barton Springs is something else. Anyway, it just turns into this roaring river, when there's a storm up in the hills. He lived north of there. It's kind of hilly. It's Texas hill country up there, and it's hilly and rocky. And his office was in his house, which was this unbelievable home that he had designed. It was very much sort of Frank Lloyd Wright-ish sort of prairie home thing, kind of tucked into the rocky hill there. With a, it was 2 stories with a, but flat, sort of, anyway, it wasn't like an, anyway. And there was a tile and concrete swimming pool in the back, tucked up against the hill. And his office was there. And how he started it was to, let me just say the guy was a relatively young, he was in his 40s, and he was a cosmetic surgeon, a photographer. He was a photographer for Penthouse magazine for 20-something years, a painter, and a sculptor. He was just he was one of those guys. And so he was multi-talented, relatively young, good-looking, and stinking rich. You just want to slap the fuck out of him. like he could do anything. Really nice guy. And his office was there. And so I went, first time I met him, they did a life mask of me, which they used dental alginate, like they used to take dental impressions. He pours that all over my face. Then he wrapped it in plaster of Paris gauze, plaster gauze, like they make. They used to make casts out of if you broke your arm or something. And then from that, and then they tell you sit there, you can't. All you have straws up your nose, and that's it. You can't see anything. You gotta wait there until everything sets up. Yeah, so it can be rather claustrophobic, but I've had it done several times now, and it's never really bothered me. It didn't even bug me the first time. I've always been able just to go away, fall asleep, But so then he took the negative, and made a positive out of plaster Paris. Then he took wax and sculpting tools, and he aged me essentially along the age lines, along the different places in my face where you would traditionally age. And slinking down in the seat. There, do I look more human now?
No,
I was like, I look like fucking. I don't know who I look like. And he aged me, with wax on this thing, and then he took liquid latex, spread it all over the wax impression of me as a 115-year-old man, and then he took those masks that he made and he cut them up into sections, which were then on set were then applied to my face with spirit gum in sections. It's like there was a upper lip, nose, actually, like that. Those cheek, lower lip, neck, forehead, and then he did ears too, I reckon. And then wrapped my hair in an ace bandage and put a skull cap on me, and then added crepe hair and painted me, and that's how the makeup came. But he gave me a tour of that house, and it was just beautiful. It had a lot of his own paintings there, which were really neat. And but the master bedroom, there was a sliding glass door with a platform outside of it that was over the deep end of that beautiful tile and concrete pool. So he could roll out of bed in the morning and dive into the pool. You know, I thought, man, I got to have me one of these someday. You know, God, I was so envious of him. He was a really, really nice guy. And so the first time, Trista, if I'm not answering your question, jump in at any time. The first time he put it on me, assisted by our makeup person, Dorothy Pearl. There were two of them. So the first time, the late, great Dorothy Pearl, she passed away a few years ago. It took them about 7 hours to put it on because they weren't really clear on how it was going to work. You know. And then the second time, and then I had to work for about 10 hours probably. And then the second time they put it on, they had it down to about 4.5 or 5 hours. It was much faster. But I had to work for about 20. So, you know, Ed Neal could tell you exactly how long, you know, we were on set that day. But it was well over 24 hours, you know. And I was in that makeup the whole fucking time. Didn't come off. It was glued down. Gunner's masks were made by Robert Burns. His were removable, but they were not easily removable. So supposedly, if the break between setup was going to be more than 15 minutes long, they'd let him take his mask off. But anytime that 15-minute mark hit, Toby say, "Oh no, we're almost ready. We're almost ready." Never got to take it off. You know, so. It was awful. Huh?
I was just saying, like, you know, people like Ed Neal. Did you stay in touch with them, you know, right after the movie, or was it more, you know, once the convention started that you started to?
I kept in touch with Kim, you know, and I lived. Jesus, really close to each other in Hollywood, like on the same street. Except he lived up the hill and I lived down on the flat part. But he had a nicer place than I did. But it's still a tiny little place. For a while, Kim and I lived real close to each other. So I'd stop by his place. He'd call me, you know, when I was closing up the joint that I worked on Franklin Avenue. He'd call me and say, "What time you get out there?" I said, "About an hour." He goes, "Why don't you come by?" I'd come by and he'd have cold beer in the fridge and some other stuff. And he generally, when he was blocked, I think, then he liked to listen to me talk and tell stories and shit. And then he'd start typing and I'd quietly leave, you know. Mm-hmm. But he was always sitting at his desk with his old Underwood or Royal or whatever it was, an old black typewriter, you know, real old-fashioned one. But Ed Neal and I, Ed Neal was kind of still is sort of our family historian, and he kind of kept the group all together, and also probably is the one to get us all together to realize, you know, there's money to be made on the road, you know, if we do it right. So he and I had always kept in touch over the years. But then I didn't start seeing everybody until 20 years ago, probably. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Ed's always really nice to me at the conventions, but he'll never come on the show. I don't know why.
Why?
I don't know. He doesn't like to do interviews. I don't know. But he's always super nice to me at all the conventions.
That was very nice.
Yeah.
Huh.
How about some of the other, like, from the other movies? Because it seems like, you guys all get together well. Is there, like, a friendship with, people even in the other Texas Chainsaw Massacre movies, even if you didn't?
Oh, yeah. We're all one big family,
Mm-hmm.
It's not like I hang out with, Renee Zellweger or, Matthew McConaughey or anything.
I was going to ask you to get him on the show. But...
Or, what's his name?
Viggo Mortensen?
Yeah, Viggo Mortensen. I'd love to hang out with him, man. I love that guy. I love him as an actor. Have you seen Captain Fantastic by any chance?
I have not, actually.
Oh, God!
Yeah.
Oh, God. It was up for all sorts of Academy Awards and everything. But what a marvelous film. What a marvelous film. I never cared for the song. So you say Trista seen it?
Yeah.
I have, yeah. He's a great actor.
I never could stand the song Sweet Child of Mine. And I never appreciated how beautiful that song it was until I saw that film. Would you agree with me on that? Trista?
I don't know if I would agree personally, but it makes sense to me. I understand why. I'm not crazy about that song. I don't know why.
Well, no, I always hated it until...
But it is a beautiful scene in the film. I see what you're saying.
Yeah, maybe that's it. It was just the whole setup,
I need to see this.
But I've never liked fucking screaming big hair rock idiots a whole lot.
What kind of music is Drawn into? What kind of music are you into?
I'm into hell, I don't know, all sorts of stuff.
Dead Dick Hammer, I know that. But...
what?
Dead Dick Hammer.
Oh yeah, of course, Dead Dick Hammer. But he's my best friend. He was my best man at our wedding, at Stacy and my wedding.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah,
I'm a big fan myself. He put a sticker, "I love Dead Dick," on one of my camera bag at a convention once.
Oh shit, man! Yeah, I used to have a bunch of them that I'd stick on things I'd give to people and everything. My one roller bag has a Dead Dick Hammer bumper sticker on it. And I had one that said, one of my bags said Dead Dick Hammer on it, and then it was like a fuck Trump or something, another sticker. Just to make, because I have a really nondescriptive dark gray, cheap, hard-sided bag that looks like so many others out there, and I travel so much. I need something to identify it.
Well, I actually learned something, a trick from wrestlers. They said to get like a really flamboyant luggage, because then it's easier to spot out when you're at the airport, and it's also less likely someone else will take it by accident. So that's why I've.
Oh, to get really, yeah.
I've
my mother-in-law has her luggage is black and white, oversized houndstooth plaid. I've never seen any other like it. And you see it as soon as it comes down. I'll pick her up at the airport. As soon as it comes down, the thing is like, there's your stuff.
All right. Yeah, I had this weird luggage with like Las Vegas. It looks like stickers all over it, and people are like, "Oh, you just came back from Vegas." I'm like, "No, I haven't been there in like 20 years." But I just had the luggage because it stands out.
Yeah. But anyway, when the anti-Trump the Dead Dick Hammer sticker was still on there, but some asshole in the luggage department had taken my anti-Trump fucking sticker off of it and trashed it.
Really?
So, I have an ACLU sticker and I have a Planned Parenthood sticker, and they're just on my desk. I don't want to put them on. Well, if I put them on my truck, somebody will set my truck on fire because I live in Tennessee, you know, and I don't want to put them on my luggage and have somebody rip them off again. So, isn't that a shame?
Yeah, it is. It is a shame. My he moved, but my neighbors over here across the street had this giant Trump flag. Like it was this giant, enormous flag over his garage, and then he also had one. It was the whole window. It was just this giant Trump, just this big Trump Pence flag stuck in the window. That's all you could see over the whole house. But when he was selling the house, he took that all down because I assume he thought he probably wouldn't be able to sell it.
Oh, fuck yeah.
I live in a pretty liberal area. I mean, he really stands out.
Yeah, I would say fucking. Where do you live? Cape Cod?
Cape Cod, yeah. I live, pretty close to Provincetown. Very liberal area.
Oh, hell, I know. Spring break in P-Town. Woo-hoo! But, what kind of music do I
Right. I forgot myself.
I'm a huge Dylan fan. I'm big on singer-songwriters.
Uh-huh.
I like blues of all kinds. Old rock and roll. Newer sort of alt rock I like. But the whole era from the middle 70s is about the middle 80s I just didn't really like at all. I don't like all the hair music and all the fucking, headbanging fucking metal music and all that shit.
Uh-huh.
I actually, as I've aged and I live in the country again, I've grown to like some really good country music, good old-fashioned country music. I don't like this pop country that, this crossover country so much that people are doing now. I like really pure, good country music, good writing, and with a good twangy pedal steel guitar in it, that sort of thing.
Tyler here wants to know what kind of movies you watch.
Comedies. We're a comedy household.
Uh-huh.
I like documentaries a lot.
I do too, actually.
And I like offbeat, artsy films and foreign films and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But Stacy is an escapist when it comes to films, and she wants something that's going to make her laugh or feel good.
Mm-hmm.
And then we do watch some horror. For one thing, to see if we see any friends of ours.
Right.
And so we occasionally watch horror and scary shit.
I've been trying to get you to watch Umbilicus Desidero for a couple of years now.
Oh God, I keep meaning to.
Uh-huh.
It's only like a 6-minute film.
4 minutes.
Right.
I need to do that. I have so many things on my, my computer hasn't worked for a while, so everything's on my phone.
I see all these excuses.
I got so much stuff that I have scripts I need to read that are there somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
But with the, everything going to shit this last year, there was no rush to read the scripts, because
yeah, it's a weird time. Yeah,
it takes long enough to finance a film anyway.
Mm-hmm.
What's that?
I got you to do a cameo for our movie, which was fun.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Now, Trista and I have a movie, but it's secret. We can't talk about it, but I can tell you off air. That's how I met Trista, was on a movie set.
Oh.
She's the lead.
Out in L.A.?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I mean, not Los up in Big Bear, wherever you were.
Yeah, not Big Bear, but it was right next to Big Bear. I always forget the name of it. Something Arrow, maybe?
Lake Arrow.
Lake Arrowhead.
Yeah. Yeah, really nice area. It's a cool experience.
I used to go up that area from Los Angeles. Southern California is so cool because you got a couple of days off. Do I want to go to the beach? Do I want to go to the mountains? Do I want to go to the desert? and you could be at any of those places in like a fucking hour or two.
All right.
But I used to like to go up to Crestline, California, which is a little town. It's kind of a redneck town. Close to the ski resorts, close to Big Bear and Lake Arrowhead in the San Bernardino Mountains. And I get a little trashy cabin, little one-room cabin. It was like a hot plate, a little fridge, and a couple of pots and pans, and you had to bring in paper plates and shit like that. And a shower for like $10 a night in the off season, the summertime, and when it wasn't ski time. Mm-hmm. Fuck, it was cheaper than staying at home, staying in LA, you know.
Right.
Go up there and go hiking, and then, you know, head over to Lake Arrowhead and or Big Bear and have lunch in some restaurant right on the lake, you know. And then instead of going down to San Bernardino on the way back to LA, go down the backside, down through the desert, and then I guess that's the Mojave Desert down there. And then come back up to the Angeles National Forest, and all of a sudden you come down the hill on the other side. You're on Highway 2. You come down, all of a sudden you're in fucking Pasadena. Before you know it, it's like, boom. It's so cool. And one time I had gone to, we had, me and the person I was with, we had gone down the backside over to the desert. Instead of heading back to LA, we went the other direction. Headed out a ways into the desert, and we found just a bar and grill in the middle of nowhere. We pulled in the parking lot, and as we were fixing to, as we, sorry.
It's all right.
Young people on their four-wheelers. If I was young and I had one, I'd be doing it too. But as we were getting out of my car, all these ultralights, one after another, started landing on the highway and pulling into the parking lot. It was a fucking ultralight club. And they stopped for lunch and a couple beers. You know, it was like a flying motorcycle gang. It was so cool. And that was another, I'm moving out here and I'm buying a fucking ultralight. You know? It was so neat. I love Southern California.
What have you been doing lately since there aren't conventions going on?
I don't know. I cook. I think I'm a house husband. Stacy works full time, you know, and I haven't worked. I had one gig in January in Huntsville, Alabama. Brought a few $100s in, and it was a really neat place, an old factory warehouse, a huge building that had turned into sort of an artist colony, you know, studios, little shops and stuff. And but that was the last gig I had, and everything else, you know, we started canceling. So essentially within 2 weeks, every job I had booked, and I was booking like crazy this year. I thought it's going to be a good year. Everything just went in the toilet. And so I try to make sure that when Stacy gets home from work, she has nothing to do except relax, you know. So I do all the shopping and cleaning and cooking and laundry and things like that. Mm-hmm. And I have a few plants, you know, that I planted and I fuck around with. I got a cucumber, a couple of tomatoes. Nothing impressive, you know.
I think that's pretty impressive right there. I'm sure you have an
impressive. And I spent a lot of time I have a rocking chair over there on the porch. I spent a lot of time there. And I have my dog, you know, mess around with. Sometimes we'll just go for a drive. Dog and I'll get in the truck and go for a drive in the country, you know.
Yeah. What kind of dog do you have?
she'll hang her head out the window. So, I'm sort of living the life of a retired country gentleman, really.
Very good. AJ says he bets you make a good chili.
Yes, I do. Yes, I do. I use a combination. I use a combination of the fresh pork sausage and beef, like a pot roast, like a chuck roast or something, only cut up like beef stew meat, I do make fucking good chili.
I don't know if you remember this, but a few years ago we had an idea where we were going to do it would be like a combination of cooking show and interviews, because we said when people are drinking and eating, that's where conversation starts, and it would be like you making chili or barbecue, and then we'd have
be so much fun.
People, and
it'd be so much fun.
Mm-hmm.
The best conversations are over a dinner table.
I agree.
That was like you and I and Annabelle going out to dinner after not seeing each other for years. In Worcester. Mm-hmm. It was so great. We closed the place down.
We did. I didn't even realize. I felt bad because we looked around.
Oh, fuck! They were cleaning up around us. We were practically lifting up our feet so they could mop under us. It was like maybe all of a sudden we realized, oh shit, maybe we better get out of here.
Yeah. Well, they were nice, so they didn't interrupt us or anything.
One other night at that. No, it wasn't that show. It was New Jersey Horror Film Festival, Horror Convention and Film Festival.
Oh, Bizarre!
I had dinner with. Huh?
Oh, I remember when we were at Bizarre AC in Atlantic City, and you taught us how to order martinis.
How to drink a martini? How to get the proper martini and drink it? Yeah. And we shared a big thing of chicken wings too.
Yes, we did. Yeah, a lot of chicken wings.
But I had dinner with Bob Kemp, the artist creator of Ren and Stimpy.
Oh, really?
At that show, he and his wife and a mutual friend of ours, and from Texas. And what a great fucking dinner! God, he's an interesting cat, really interesting, and. I'd hang with him any fucking day, man. Yeah, because I think particularly the first season of Ren and Stimpy, is some of the best television I have ever seen. Animated television for sure. By far the best written shit I've ever seen. And it's something that I could watch with my daughter. Because she thought it was funny from the funny cartoon aspect, and some of the shit was so adult. So, oh my God. I can just think of old episodes of Ren and Stimpy and start laughing. So, I've had some great conversations. We had a big dinner in Palm Beach, West Palm. Fucking 7 years ago. Damn. I was at a convention and Danny Hicks, who we just lost last week. Fuck. Danny Hicks and Tim shit. Fuck, I can't think of his last name. Who were both in, who both grew up in Michigan, grew up with oh fuck, what's his name? Who played Ash? I can't remember anybody. Bruce Campbell.
Oh yeah.
Were there, and it turned out to be a dog of a show because it was the first named tropic storm of the year blew in. So nobody showed up. Half the celebrities couldn't get we're stuck in like the Atlanta airport, shit like that. And the show just fucking collapsed, so we were all like living on our per diem, and Tim got in touch with Bruce Campbell, who was doing Burn Notice at the time. May have been his final season, some final season of that show or close to it. And said, hey, we're in town at this convention who just crashed because of the weather and all that shit. He goes, yeah, Bruce said, just get a bunch of fucking horror actors together and meet me at the Ruth's Chris Steakhouse. We'll have a big round table dinner and conversation. And he says, it's on me. He said, it was all on Rupert Murdoch. So we had a private dining room at the Ruth's Chris, in West Palm. This huge square table, with Bruce in the middle of one side of it, and all of us going all the way around it, and had drinks, fucking marvelous dinner, and lively conversation, and he just smiled the whole time. He loved to do. Apparently, he loves to do that. The first time Stacy met Danny was at she was a handler for one of the women from something. And I guess it was from one of those Evil Dead movies or something. And that's the first place she met Danny Hicks and Bruce Campbell. Was she got invited because she was handling one of the actresses that got invited to this dinner. So he does it. He's known for doing that, but he just likes food, drink, and lively conversation. And he's very generous because he is one of those people who really managed to turn it into to a certain amount of wealth. I don't know how much money he has, but he's not hand to mouth like a lot of us are, in the low budget, horror film business. So nice him to give back a little bit.
Yeah. And I got to meet, I never met him in person, but I got to know Danny Hicks through our mutual friendship. And he's a really nice guy. He's like, if you're friends with John, you must be a good guy. So that was really nice to do with him. I think at the time, looking back, he knew he was sick. Because he had his voice wasn't doing so well, and he mentioned he had problems, but he didn't really go into it. And I think at the time he probably knew. Well,
he's had chronic pain from back issues for years. Mm-hmm. And the last time, I saw him since then, but I spent a weekend with him at Tim O'Savin, Tim and Angie's house outside of St. Louis, and we hung around the pool. And just talked and drank and smoked dope and shit like that, and swam. And he had a fentanyl patch on then from chronic pain, but it was due to a bad back injury from several years before they had gotten worse. But I remember him taking it off, and I said, "What's that?" He goes, "A fentanyl patch." He goes, "I'm going to get in the pool," and he goes, "And I'm going to drink, and I can't." He says, "If I get in the pool, it'll be dangerous for you guys, because the fentanyl will leach out to the water if you jump in the pool." Mm-hmm. And then he said, "And then I'm going to have a few drinks, and I can't really. The stuff's so strong, I can't drink up top of it." So. Oh. And then I did one convention with him after that, I think. And I hadn't seen him for a while. We were both on the road. We didn't, do the same shows or anything.
Yeah. Yeah, he was never at any of the shows I was at. Just never ran into him. Adrian wants to know, is there any place you can get a good grandpa mask?
A big what?
A good grandpa mask.
Yeah, Trick or Treat Studios is the one that's designed that I helped with. It's taken. I did all the measurements of my face
Oh, really?
and everything. So it's taken. Well, I didn't. My roommate Randy did at the time. But it was designed from photographs and from actual measurements of my face and head and all that stuff. And the guy Connor DeLess, who sculpted it, is really talented. So that's the only one that I would recommend is Trick or Treat Studios. I'm sure it's like trickortreatstudios.com.
Okay. Yeah, because he said he wants to go as grandpa and his son as Leatherface for Halloween this year.
Oh, great idea.
I agree. He can enter our annual Halloween costume contest. Maybe he can win 2 years in a row.
I think actually, man, I think Dead Dick Hammer has autographed
really?
grandpa masks that he might sell you. If you might be cheaper than buying one and asking me to autograph
it. Yeah, John always charges me double for. He wants to know, what performer would you like to see play you if they made the John Dugan story?
Ethan Hawke.
Ethan Hawke? All right, we can see that. That would work.
Not that he looks like me, I just love him as an actor.
Right. That's the main thing. Speaking of autographs, can people still get, like, if they're looking for an 8x10 or whatever autograph, can they get that from you?
Oh, yeah. But, on Facebook, I have an album, a photo album in my albums that says photos for sale. And sometimes I'm out of one or two, but I can get them pretty quickly. So just get in touch with me on Facebook and send me an instant message or private message or whatever they call it.
Yeah. What are those kids
and we
called?
can work things out.
Right.
And I take PayPal.
Yeah.
And actually, we can take that Facebook payment option too.
Right.
That we've done a couple times. So. I should take checks
because someone wanted to pay me in Venmo. I didn't know what it was.
Huh?
Someone wanted to pay me in Venmo, and I didn't know what this was, but I signed up for it.
What is it?
It's like a PayPal thing for the internet. Yeah.
Oh, Mo as in money, probably.
Yeah, Venmo. Yeah, it could be. I didn't even put that together.
Yeah. Well, I have a really high aptitude for the English language and slang.
Yes, or I'm just very dumb. Yeah. All right. Very good. All right. So it's always great to catch up with you, John.
It was nice to see you, and it was nice to meet Trista.
Thank you. Lovely meeting you.
Where are you located in California?
Me, I'm in LA.
In Los Angeles?
Mm-hmm.
What area? What neighborhood?
Well, I've been moving around, so I've been shooting. So that's why I'm being vague. But so right now I'm sort of near, I'm currently sort of near Palm Springs, but I'm usually in LA.
Oh. You like it up there? You like it up there in the high desert?
I love it. I love the summertime. I really like the sunshine. Yeah, I really like it. Do you like Tennessee?
Yeah, well, I love the fact that it's so goddamn cheap. There's our little slice of heaven right there, and I'm not even going to tell you how much we pay for it. It's like next to nothing. Anytime, and I lived in a lot of good-sized cities, Chicago, L.A., downtown Chicago, downtown L.A. before anybody lived there. San Francisco. And anytime you get out to the rural areas, no matter what state you're in, you're going to have this hyper conservative politics to deal with. So I just accept it. That's the way things are. But my neighbor down that way flies a Confederate flag, and my neighbor down that way has two flagpoles, one with a Confederate flag and an American flag on it, and the other one with a Trump flag and a what's that called? The yellow one with the snake on it. Don't tread on me.
Tread on
flag.
me.
Yeah, that survivalist, Revolutionary War flag. Mm-hmm. So, I don't. Well, that's why I don't put any of my. There's no bumper stickers on my truck. Yeah, and why the neighbor down there. One of the neighbors down that way, and there's kind of a little complex of trailers down there. But the guy he just adores me. His wife worked at a local convenience store. He met me there and found out I was a neighbor and all that stuff. He's got a jailhouse tattoo of a swastika on the back of his right hand. I used to, I haven't seen him in a while, but I'd be mowing my lawn, in the middle of a fucking blazingly hot afternoon, sitting on my mower, and Pete, he'd pull up and say, "John, you look like you need a beer." And he'd hand me a beer out the window, And I'd say, it was always a Bud Light. I say, "You call that a fucking beer, you asshole." And he goes, "You're a funny little shit." And I'd take it, chug it down, And so he thought I was just a funny little shit. If he had known my politics, God knows, So you got to kind of learn to keep your mouth shut. About, because I've, particularly since Trump started running, I become so fucking political, just so politically angry. It's not pleasant, it's upsetting. It's aging me, but, and here I am almost, I'm pushing 70, I'm halfway to 68 years old, and my plan was not to live out the autumn of my years in a hate-filled right-wing country. Was not. I figured, as a young liberal idealist in the 60s, that by now we'd be enlightened, that everybody would have equality, that the races would be almost homogenized, and I said it was just that stupid idealism of youth, and so this whole swing to the extreme right of this country has been very upsetting to me, to the point where if I was young and I could afford it, I'd have left. I'd have gone to Ireland, got my passport, and just stayed there. But I'm too old to work overseas anymore or anything. So, although it was suggested by a filmmaker friend of mine from Ireland that I'd come to Ireland and then, get my passport, because my grandparents were Irish immigrants. Get my passport, and we come to Ireland, and then I can get my national retirement from Ireland and collect my Social Security from the United States at the same time. Not a bad idea.
Right.
But I'm sorry, I got all
weird. I always think I just grew up naive to that there was a lot of people who thought this way. Because where I am, like, no one, not say no one, but the majority of people don't care about, you know, if someone's gay or any of these things. And I remember when gay marriage became a thing, seeing, you know, on social media, so many people against it, and people that, you know, I wouldn't think would really care, because in my mind it was like only like real backwoods people that would even care if someone was gay. Just because where I grew up, even in the 80s, like I lived with my grandma when I was a kid, and she worked for a gay couple, and no one cared. It wasn't even like they were the gay couple. They were just this married couple. They weren't legally married, but they were just, you know, they just happened to be two guys, and no one thought anything of it. And, you know, years later to see people really, you know, like mad about that, it was very strange to me. And I think a lot of just,
me too. I can't wrap my head around it. Even though I grew up in a very small town in Indiana, which was essentially redneck, you know, I was, you know, called a nigger lover my whole life. Yeah, until I left home, moved to Chicago, and then saw how people got along, you know, and in L.A. and San Francisco and Louisville, which is, you know, south of the Ohio, and Kentucky, which is a very backward fucking Republican state, although it does have a rather progressive liberal governor now. But Louisville is surprisingly progressive town because it's the cultural center, you know. Mm-hmm. It's all, you know, it's the cultural and financial capital of Kentucky, as opposed to Frankfurt, which is just a governmental, you know, capital. But, you know, I lived there, and I live close to Nashville, which are, you know, in the city. But man, you get outside of any city in this country, and 1950 all over again, you know. And it's just it breaks my heart, you know, that because I just thought, you know, I was stupid enough to think that after the Vietnam War and after the boomers who catch so much shit, you know who stopped the Vietnam War? The fucking boomers did. We did. We were the ones out demonstrating on the fucking streets, getting them to bring our boys back from fucking Vietnam. You know, and you know, a lot of people that I knew back then have turned completely. What happened is money. Once people start making money and having to actually pay taxes, they're like, well, that sucks. So then they start voting for the bad guy. But so really, I thought that after we stopped the Vietnam War and it looked like we were on the right track, and then Nixon came along, you know, and it just went to shit again. And then Reagan just was the beginning of the end, you know. With his stupid trickle-down economics that everybody bought into. Even my father, who was a lifelong yellow dog Democrat, mm-hmm. He loved that Reaganomics. Yeah. And it wiped out, trickle-down economics and hypo-conservative politics has wiped out the working class in this country. There's nothing but a stinking rich class and a lower class. There's no middle class, you know. And it wasn't my idea to die poor in a right-wing country. But, you know, that's pretty much the way it is, you know.
Because my mom's about the same age. She turns she turned 70 this year in this October, and she always says the same thing when she was, you know, younger. That she always thought, you know, when she's age she is now, that there would be no racism or, you know, any of this stuff. That would just be
we were so idealistic. And the thing is, we were right, and everybody else was wrong. So we were right. We knew we were right, and I can look back on it and say, yes, we were right. We were. The world that we envisioned is the way it's supposed to be. But there are people who they don't care if anybody. They don't care for the greater good of the world. They don't want to see everybody happy. They just want their own family to be happy, their own tribe, and fuck everybody else. And that, you know, you'll probably get a lot of shit about this. You'll get a lot of email or something.
Oh, well, that's okay. We don't care about that.
No, yeah.
Yeah, we're just glad you're a good human. That's
Yes.
what we care about.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, a lot of the people that would care have already blocked me or unfriended me by this point. So.
There, you know, it's the other thing I've learned is that in our business and the horror fan business,
Mm-hmm.
there are a lot of really conservative people there. So I've lost a lot of fans, but I refuse to shut up. So fuck it.
I appreciate that. So.
Yeah, and we'd be happy to have you on again.
Of course, yeah, John, you're welcome anytime.
Oh, okay. We're gonna wrap it up.
Oh,
Here's
No, you don't have to. I'm just saying that
Just
you
saying
can
that
come
in
on
No, I
as much as you want.
no, I do. I have to have something to eat, and I'm kind of getting mosquito eating here.
yes, that's the problem with being outside.
Yeah, I get these little fucking tiger mosquitoes. They're so small, and they're real low to the ground, like they're
I
on your
recommend
ankles and
these little bracelets. They're not paying me to say this, but yeah, you just put them. They smell like candles, and they keep the mosquitoes away. I wear them all the time when I'm outside walking.
Oh, really? I can put one on my ankle too.
Yeah, I actually do
I have-
that sometimes. So then I have one.
I have
up here.
cutters. I have like deep woods or whatever it's called, deep woods
Yeah.
cutters
Yeah.
from my ankle up to my thighs, but I didn't put any on my upper body because it smells too bad.
Yeah.
And my wife won't let me hug her when she gets out of the shower. I
Well,
know,
These just smell like candles.
I don't blame
so
her.
you're good to go. Right.
but no, it's these tiny little tiger mosquitoes, which are not. They're Asian, and they're not. I looked them up. Not native to this country, and they're just taken over. They actually come out in the daytime, and they have stripes on their legs. If you see one,
Oh,
and
hence the name
they're-
Tiger.
they're so small. They're so small you can't feel them land on you. So, as opposed to like a normal sized mosquito, you kind of swat it away if you feel it.
Mhm.
So they can eat you up before you even realize, what's happened. It's just fucking terrifying.
Yes.
But
Well, be careful, John.
Yeah,
Away from
sorry
the-
about that. Thank you for
Yeah.
I'm careful.
Thank
See,
you
I
for
have
sacrificing the
for
leg.
us.
I have my venture mask on.
Very good.
No.
Very good.
I always keep my face covered. I go into town.
Yeah, I don't know why it's a big
I
deal
live
for
8
anyone.
miles.
Uh-huh.
Well, don't get me started on that shit.
Yeah, I tried
Murdering
not. I
sons of
tried
bitches.
not to reply to anyone, but I've given up on that because it's just.
God.
It's
And they think you're going to die of lack of oxygen.
I
You
know.
all this
this thing
all
is.
this
They're
shit
like,
they believe.
yeah, they're like,
But
don't give in
they
to
won't
fear.
listen to the medical experts.
Uh-huh.
yeah. The most reasonable scientific shit. They're like, no,
Oh, that's
No,
crazy.
no,
that's
listen,
bonkers.
This guy on YouTube and
Yeah.
Reddit, he says,
I know.
They'll listen to some guy who sat next to them in biology classes, slept through it every fucking day.
right.
And he comes up with this, the lack of oxygen, I don't know, something or other, a dosage, blah, blah, blah. And people are listening to our fucking president instead of the foremost expert on fucking contagious viruses in the world, almost the country. It was right there on TV all the time. They won't listen to him. And I admire him so much for standing up to Trump, and I'm shocked that Trump hasn't figured out a way to fire him yet.
Mm.
You know, with Dr.
Fauci, yeah. Yeah, but I'll see people, they'll say, don't give in to fear. I won't give in to fear and wear a mask. And then they'll say, you know, if you wear a mask, it's going to kill your immune system. You're going to drop dead. They have like total fear of wearing a mask, but they're like, don't give into the fear and wear a mask.
Oh, and they carry a sidearm to walk to go down to the corner fucking Subway and buy a 12-inch sub.
Right.
You know, a foot long.
Uh-huh.
Then they take a fucking 380, you know, whatever, a 9mm. That's easier, you know, with them to go to the local fucking convenience store. But they accuse you of giving in to fear.
Uh-huh.
That's one thing I love to fuck with those people. Say, what are you afraid of? Nothing. Well, you're afraid of something because you carry a gun everywhere.
Right.
No, that's to protect me from my protection. From what? Shit you're afraid of, you dumbass. I'm afraid. But I only started on that when they called me a pussy for not owning any guns. When I get
I've had the same thing happen to me, and it's the same exact idea. It's like, well, aren't you the one who has to, if you're carrying around all the time or sitting around your house?
I say no. I don't own a handgun. I've never owned a handgun. I don't own any guns right now. I used to own long guns when I grew up, but and they give you this, you know, well. You know, good luck to your family, you know, just because you're afraid of guns. I'm not afraid of guns. I said, but if you think your need to carry a gun everywhere isn't based on fear, you're not a very bright person. You know? Right. Well, I'm not afraid. Why? Because I have guns. Right, exactly. They'll finish every thought and sentence out of your mouth defending their right to fucking carry a gun. I'm not afraid of anything. Then why do you carry a gun? Protection from what? Shit you're afraid of, right? No, I'm not. Then why do you have the gun? I'm not really afraid. Then why do you have the gun? Because you're afraid. Exactly. God, they're fun. They're so much fun to fuck with.
It can be very time consuming, but yeah.
All right, I've got to go, man.
All right,
I'll do this.
Hello to Stacy.
Anytime you want. Oh yeah, I will. I think she's in there making herself something. No, but anytime.
All right.
I love talking to you. I love seeing you. I love being with you. I wish we could hang out more often.
We definitely should. And hope someday it would be cool if all three of us and four of us will get Troy and we'll hang out somewhere.
And yeah, Trista. Very nice to meet you.
Nice meeting you.
And you know, hopefully I'll be out in LA in the next couple of years working on a film. I have a couple of things in the works with everything on hold.
About 5 years ago when I was in LA, John, you recommended going to Musso and Frank's, and I didn't go.
Yeah.
And then it popped up in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Like that's a big scene where he has a meeting with
you didn't go to Musso and Frank?
Not at that time. And then I was like, oh man, that's a place John recommended. And then this last time I was out in LA, one day the people I was staying with, they were out shooting something. So I just started roaming around Hollywood. And I just by chance, I was like, oh man, I'm right here under Musso's and Frank's. So I went in there. I was like, John recommended.
That's right on Hollywood Boulevard, yeah.
Yeah, so I went in there. And
what'd you have?
I had prime rib because I like vegan foods. So there's nothing against it. People are staying with us vegan, and they were gone.
But
so I was like,
it's a steak and shop place.
Yeah,
it's a steak and shop place for sure. And they got some old fashioned shit you just can't get anywhere. Lamb kidneys, grilled lamb kidneys. Holy shit, you can't get those anywhere. I mean, you can't even get lamb kidneys at a fucking boutique butcher. I don't think you'd have to order. And they had a fucking liver steak that was about maybe that thick, done over charcoal, medium rare. Well, they cook it to order. You get it rare if you want to, like your fucking rosemary from Rosemary's Baby or some shit, you know. But served on a bed of watercress with the juice, you know, just all run. Oh my God. I used to love that place. Plus, you know, my first wife was a real. This one more story about Musso. This is about Musso Frank's guy. She was really starstruck when we first moved to LA. And we lived in we lived like a 5-minute walk from Musso and Frank's up off Franklin Avenue, just west north of there, toward the valley, and every time we go in there, she'd see some famous person. She'd go, John, don't look now, but over there is the guy, Mark, what's his name, who was the lead singer for, who was that? We did see him in there one time. Mark Lindsay, you know, the lead singer for, oh God, what was his name? Paul Revere and the Raiders, you know. And I go, wow. You know, don't look now, John, but there's David Jansen having dinner. There's David Jansen having dinner with Angie Dickinson. Oh, well. So we're in there that one afternoon. So it was we used to like to go in between lunch and dinner, you know, so you didn't have to wait for a table or anything. And we'd park in their parking lot in the back and go in the back door past the kitchen and everything. And, let me back up a second. One time, we came in the back door. It might have been the same day. We came into the back door past the kitchen, and they had you've been there. There's a huge counter on the front side. There's a bar in the dining room, but there's a big lunch counter in the front. And there's an open grill back there and all that shit. There used to be. But at the very end stool, nearest to the rear exit, was this guy who was a beggar, a fake blind guy, beggar from our old neighborhood in Chicago, sitting there with his white cane with the red tip on it, with his fucking black Ray-Bans on the counter reading a newspaper. And he used to come into the restaurant where Shelley worked and get a back table and do the same thing, sit and read a newspaper, taking sunglasses. And what, honey?
I just said, wow. Sorry.
So I said, Shelley, look. And she went, oh, my God. And I tapped him on the shoulder and said, hey. He looked up and said, hey, what are you kids doing here? He knew us. He remembered us. I said, we moved out here about 6 months ago. I said, what are you doing here? He goes, oh, I come out here every winter, you know, to get out of the cold Chicago. He goes, it's great out here. We get, we as in handicapped people, get free buses, a discount on this and that. I said, you? Yeah, I said, you blind people? You're not blind. It's so fucking weird, isn't it? Hey, how you kids doing? Said the blind man. So anyway, we're sitting having, lunch, dinner, or whatever. And I look over. She's facing me, and we're in one of those banquettes on the side. So there's all these tables behind her. And I look, and in a booth over there is Bob Denver, Gilligan, and he's having lunch with two little people, actresses, one of which was that the exorcist woman from Poltergeist, the little midget exorcist.
Yeah.
So I go, Piggy, don't look now. But behind over there is Bob Denver, you know, who played Maynard G. Krebs, Gilligan. Yeah. He's having lunch with 2 midgets. She goes, bullshit, you're just trying to get me to turn around. You're lying. I said, no, I'm not. I don't care if you think I'm lying. You don't have to look. I don't care if you look or not. There's Bob Denver having lunch with 2 midgets. You're trying to make a fool of me. Finally, she couldn't take it anymore. She turned around. She went, oh, my God. Oh. Anyway, that's my Moose on Frank story.
I love it. Unfortunately, no one cool was in there. Besides me, I guess. But yeah, no one else was.
Oh, man, we used to see somebody every time we went in there back. Of course, it was back in the middle 70s. We moved there in the... we got there in January, first week in January 1977. Oh, look at there.
Yeah, I just went in. It was like 11, so I thought maybe they wouldn't have prime rib. And I was like, is it too early from prime rib? And the waiter was like, brother, it's never too early for prime rib.
I bet he did, man. Shit, some of those waiters, man, there were some old dudes that used to work there. And those were such lucrative jobs, and they were the best servers in the world. Even though they were kind of rude, sometimes they just, your plate would just bounce across the table when they deliver it. There you go. Boom, boom, boom. But you never had to ask twice for anything, you know. And but there were guys there. It reminded me of the Berghoff in Chicago. If you ever have a chance to go there, the oldest restaurant continually operating restaurant in downtown Chicago. But some of those guys owned their own home and sent 3 kids through fucking college, waiting table. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
They were good fucking jobs. And they're the kind of waiters where you can't turn around and do that without somebody come on over and ask you if you need something.
Yeah.
You know. And the other thing I used to like to get at lunch was I'd sit at the counter by myself if I was down on Hollywood Boulevard. It was a smoked tongue sandwich. I'd sit at the counter and have a beer and a smoked tongue sandwich for lunch with hot mustard on it. Oh, man. Good shit. I'm hungry now. I got to go eat.
All right. Very good. Yeah. I have a friend in Chicago I go visit sometimes, and he took me to a really good steakhouse last time I was there. I forget the name of it now, but it was good.
You need to go to the Berghoff. It's unusual. It's a unique place. Going for lunch in the stand-up bar where they have where they carve sandwiches and you stand up at the bar and eat it, or then the dining room. It's basically German food, but it's fucking excellent. And it's just a unique place. It's from another century, from the 1800s is what it's from, the late 1800s probably. So, yeah, it's a piece of history. It's worth it,
Mm-hmm.
even if you have a bad experience just to see the place.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Last time I was in Chicago, my friend Matt, he'd yell at me because I go for a walk every day. So, like 3 a.m, I'd get up and go for a walk, and he's like, Neal, this isn't Cape Cod. You can't go for a walk by yourself at 3 a.m. in Chicago.
Well, it's one of the safest times there is there.
I thought it was fun.
No, even the bad guys sleep.
Very true. But
the safest time on the street in Chicago is between 4 a.m. and 8 a.m.
Uh-huh.
The second safest time is between midnight and 4 a.m. So you were fine.
Right. I remember that I went to a 7-Eleven because I looked it up. That it was open 24 hours, and but it was still locked. And the guy who was working there, he came over. He's like, "What are you doing here?" I'm like, "I just wanted to buy some." This officer said, "I want to buy some pickles And because I did, I went and bought some pickles. And he's like, it's 3 a.m. I was like, yeah, I know. And he's like, nothing good happens at this time. And I was like, I don't know. But so he let me in and then locked up behind me. But it was funny to me.
You know, I used to walk late all the time, and I worked in a joint, was up till 4 a.m. And I lived at the time. I lived probably 1 mile north of where I worked. And I came and I closed up the joint, and I grabbed a 6-pack of beer out of the cooler, and it was snowing. Beautiful, big, fluffy flakes of snow. No wind, and there was like a full moon, so it was very bright. And it was only about fucking 30 degrees. You know, it was warm, considering the time of year it was. And I decided to walk home. And I used to like the alley walk and look at the backs of buildings and stuff. So I walked down alleys all the way home. When I got about maybe a quarter of a mile from my apartment, I got I was going past a city play lot. It was fixing to turn onto another alley that went out onto Racine Avenue, I think, and head north home. And it was so quiet because the snow was so soft you couldn't hear footsteps or anything. And all of a sudden, like 4 or 5 guys cut me off at the end of the alley there. I just kept walking. The guy goes, "Hey man, you a stone?" I said, "No, I walk alone." Just kept walking towards him. He goes, "You lying motherfucker. I know you're a stone because I seen you run with the stones." And I said, "No, man, I told you I walk alone." I kept walking towards him. And I got up maybe 20 feet in front of him. And the leader is always this, because I've been confronted several times in the city. The leader of a small group like that is always a little guy. The little guy has the brains, and you've got the big doofuses that are muscle. Sorry, all you big doofuses out there. But it's true. But he went, "Come on, man, let this motherfucker go." And they all took off running. And then I turned around, whipped out my dick, and pissed in the fucking snow for about 10 minutes, man. But the thing I learned from life in the city like that, I lived in the inner city for many years in Chicago and in LA, is you can't show any fear. Those people are chicken shits. They don't want anybody's going to fight back or any of that stuff. They want somebody who's going to curl up so they can kick the fuck out of them, take their money. So they're going to kick the shit out of you either way. You might as well act like you can take them on, and hopefully they run off.
I've not had any problems. Well, I did have my stuff stolen in Atlanta, but normally not any problems.
Oh yeah, but that was stolen out of your car, man. That was awful.
Mm-hmm, yeah,
all your video shit and everything. Did your insurance cover that?
No, they wanted if I had the not zip code, but whatever code was on the camera, and I'm like, I have no idea what that was. So that was the only way they would. But I guess in the future, which I haven't since I've got new equipment, but you should write down all the code.
Oh, like your serial number,
yeah,
your serial number.
Like who knows the serial number on your camera? Like who would know this?
From now on, you have a list of.
No, I haven't. But now that I think about it, I should. I know that.
Yeah, you better. Dumbass.
That was out of.
I don't have that stuff either.
No, that was at a convention. I remember the people at the convention because it was stolen on my friend's car at his pickup, and they were like, "Oh, I bet it was an inside job." And I'm like, I doubt he broke his own windshield in his pickup to steal my camera. I'm like, I really doubt that.
Was it your car or do you?
No, it was a friend of mine's car. He goes by the name President Clinton. I don't want to say his real name, but He's a weird guy. He calls into the show. He hasn't called into the show for a while, but and he does Bill Clinton's voice, and we. I don't know why, but we have weird people listen to the show. But he's a good guy, and he looks like Conan O'Brien. So it's all very strange.
But real tall, redheaded, and geeky.
Yeah. But he sounds just like Bill Clinton. So yeah, he took us to see Book of Mormon, the play, which is hilarious.
Yeah.
And we came out, and the windshield was all broken, and my stuff was stolen, and probably some stuff he had in the car was stolen.
Yeah, I remember when that happened.
Yeah. I think you're at the convention.
You were very upset.
Yeah,
I gotta go, pal.
All right, we'll see you.
Probably can't see me, can you?
John.
It was
Bye,
nice
John.
to meet you, Trista.
Nice.
And anytime.
All right,
I'll do this anytime.
Excellent.
Love y'all.
Love you.
And
as
I
well.
love all my fans out there that are watching. So
Yeah.
thanks for tuning in.
Everyone
Good
say
night.
good night. Good night.
Good night.